This episode is brought to you by JT Clothiers. Hi, I'm Chad Hennings, and welcome to Forces of Character podcast, where we have conversations about building a life of impact in the pursuit of excellence. You know, I'm excited for today's conversation that we have because my guest was one of the original 10 people that I interviewed and had conversations with in my book, Forces of Character. Virginia and I go way back many years, and I first met her when I was the chair of a Service Academy selection board where her son, Emmanuel, was wanting to attend the United States Air Force Academy, going through the nomination process. And we did end up nominating him. He did end up graduating from the Air Force Academy, but that was when I met his mom. And from then on, I realized that, man, powerful and mighty things do come in small packages. And I just want to welcome you, Virginia. Welcome to the program. Thank you so much for taking time to be here.
Thank you for having me. And you forgot to say that many times when my son came home from Air Force, you had meetings with him, so you play an important role in his life too.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. He's a special young man.
Yes.
A very special young man, and I know you feel the same too. But you know, your story is so unique. Growing up in a communist country, communist Romania, you know, you became a lawyer. You spent time essentially as a political prisoner in your own home. You threatened with death from the government. You even had an assassin sent to murder you or to kill you, to take you out. You immigrate to the United States. You end up going through law school, passing the bar, learning English. I put on top of that, all within the first 4 years of the time you're here. I mean, how does one do that? I mean, you should open your shirt. You probably have the big S on your chest, Superwoman. But, you know, as I said, powerful things do come in small packages, but let's start with your upbringing. Tell us just about your memories of growing up in a communist country in Romania.
Okay, before I start to tell the story, I will tell you that if I open my blouse and have something to show on the chest, it will be, I'm small, but there is a huge God inside of me.
Amen.
That's the secret. That's the secret. And I hope that people will realize that, yes, it is a powerful story, but it's God's story in my life. He wrote his story in my life. He is not done yet. And if you, at the end of this podcast, will go to God and say, Lord, I want to give you my life, and you write the story, your story in my life, you will be amazed. Your life will never be the same. Your influence and impact in your life, in your community, and in your business will never be the same, and even in America.
Amen to that. Amen to that.
So yes, I grew up in a communist country, and in many ways I feel like what is going on around us, and I'm not talking in the last 100 days with the new President Trump, but before that, I had seen some of the similarities in the past administration, in a sense that people were fearful more of God than of government. Because I grew up in a communist country where I watched my parents being very fearful of the government, and as the government asked them to give us their rights because they wanted to keep the job, or they didn't want to be arrested or to disappear, they will give those rights and they will agree with the government. But I also watched them inside of our home being truthful and saying, I hate what the government is doing. I don't trust. Tomorrow they're going to ask more. And as a child, watching my parents having this double life, it was very powerful to me, and it was very worrisome. I was thinking, I don't represent anything from the government, but my parents will never protect me. But by the grace of God, My family was small, but we have family reunion every single year. So as a child, I noticed that my family, in general, will group around 3 people. And I started to figure out why they go around these people. They were lawyers. So in my mind, I said, oh, I found a way. I will go to law school, but I will speak up, not like these lawyers that they have solution whispering in the house, but not speaking out outside. So I went to law school. And I want people to realize in my book, Saving My Assassin, it describes in details that what is different in a socialist country than in a capitalist country like America is that you, as a resident of a socialist or communist country, you do not choose your profession. The government decides for you. So in order for me to be allowed to apply to law school, the government look in my file from the time that you're born to the time that you died. In communist socialist Romania, we had a file, and the government looked for 3 questions. One was if my parents ever organized a revolt against communism, if my parents were ever reported by their children that they said something negative in their house against the government, and if my parents were Christians. So I passed. But I have a question for you right now. What are your kids or relatives seeing you? Spreading fear or faith? I wasn't raised in a Christian family. Do you share the gospel? Do you share with your kids the power of Christ in you and how you can work in the power of Christ, or you are more fearful of the government? It's a question that you have to respond to your God. But I am telling you, we have an amazing God. No matter what you have done before, go and ask for forgiveness, ask for His power, and you will be unstoppable. I promise.
You know, listening to you reminds me of, I did a previous interview before with Rod Dreyer in his book, Live Not by Lies, where he went to Eastern Europe and in several of the former socialist communist countries under the former Soviet Union, and he interviewed religious dissidents. And that what they said, as well as, you know, our friends at First Liberty always say too, the first thing that an authoritarian government wants to take down is religious liberties, any icons or monuments of faith, because as a people, you can't have your allegiance to 2 different things. It's either to the government or to something of a higher calling. We are people of faith as Christians. God is our higher calling, of course.
Yes.
But, you know, go back on that aspect, kind of with your parents. You know, even as a young child, you knew truth. You could see truth.
Yes.
At that point in time, and I know God's hand was over you, but did you have any other mentors, any other influences, other than looking from afar at those relatives that were attorneys or lawyers, people that kind of led you down the path of, you know, this is right, this is wrong, this is how you should live? Did you have any of those relationships?
I'm so glad you asked this question, because the book, Saving My Assassin, is full with example of people that God put in my life, even during the time that I was not Christian. For example, I had a teacher in my 8th to 12th grade who took an interest in me and trained me to go to what is called academic decathlon. He trained me to speak in front of people. I was the only one in the class, the only one in the class. When I went to law school, I was able to see people that were friends or even children of Minister of Justice, Supreme Court, and I was the only one there going to, taking a bus, or the rest were people, that others, chauffeur will come and pick them up. So somehow I thought, how can nobody like me can be in the middle of such important people that will have drivers and all kind of other people? I didn't realize why, but I knew that it's something. And I knew, from my perspective, I thought I need to learn really well everything that is in those books, because I will find the truth. That was my human, and I graduated in the top 10% of my class.
So your pursuit of knowledge, you were trying to pursue truth.
Yes.
Trying to pursue wisdom, and worldly wisdom. Okay. Continue, I'm sorry.
And when you graduate again from law school in socialist communist Romania, you don't pick and choose where. Like here, it's true. I graduated from SMU Law School in Dallas, Texas. I can choose the right or the left side of the street or whatever and open my law firm. No, that's not the same. So the government decided where I have to go and practice.
Let's just back up for a second. As a small child, you saw the attorneys with the honor and the respect that they had from your other family members, but ultimately, what was it inside of you that wanted to choose that as a profession? Was it just because of the notoriety? Was it because they pursued truth? Was it because their perception as leaders? What was it? Why did you want to become an attorney?
Because I wanted to stand up and speak the truth. I didn't want to live a double life. I hated the fact that they had one life outside and they were very submissive to the government, but they were whispering inside of house what they really thought about the government. And I thought, I don't want to live this kind of life. I want to live just one life, no matter the cost. I want to speak up the truth. So that's the reason why, before I accepted Christ, I thought that was my desire. But God has His plan for every single person, and God has a plan for me to be a lawyer. And if you read the book, think about, many people say you had a horrible childhood, and it's true. But God used that teaching moments in childhood for what He prepared me. Also, when you read about my childhood, I have red hair, freckles, and I was white colored face, much whiter than the family I was born in. People coming to our town will come and put a camera in front of me and take pictures because I was the only one. Why God allowed this? Because He wanted to train me to be okay, to be indifferent when I will be in the courtroom and be different, and everybody will just go far away from me and not refuse to be friends or something. God uses everything in our life.
Amen. So you learned, grit, determination, resiliency, courage. I mean, to me, you're the epitome of courage, because you took a stand. You wanted to stand for truth, and you knew that you were different. I mean, even as a young child, those lessons were ingrained in who you are from an identity perspective.
And I really believe if any of your audience will look at their life, and instead of saying, I'm under 5 feet tall, so I'm very small, will say, well, I don't have what you have and everything. If you move your focus to what you have and give it to the Lord, watch out what He is able to do it, because that's what God has done in my life.
I think that's a universal principle too of people of leadership. For one, it's not about you.
Yes.
It's about being a servant leader, giving to others. I mean, every effective leader that I've ever been around, you had that sense that they cared about me. that it wasn't about, me. And I have a good friend that's writing a book right now that's coming out about entitlement. The sense of entitlement that people have, and it's almost a cancer that it's where it's all about me. Viktor Frankl talks about that in his book too, Man's Search for Meaning, where it was those people that died in the camp, a lot of them didn't have that sense of purpose where it was outside. They had a focus that was outside and beyond themselves. Those are the ones that survived. Those people that it was internally perspective, they didn't make it. They didn't have the hope that you exhibit and emit. But that's, phenomenal. What I think is even, more intrigued about your journey. How did you become a Christian?
I was focused from the time that I believe I was 6 years old, watching those lawyers and trying to believe, to figure out for myself that I need to go to law school. I thought that's what I need to be in life. I need to be a lawyer. So I graduated from law school. I am practicing maybe for a year or two. And one day I come to my law office. I put my briefcase on my secretary's desk and I said, I don't want to be a lawyer anymore. I can't find the truth anywhere. She looked up at me like, where have you been? What country, what universe do you live in? And she gave me 3 files and she said, 3 people looking to come to your office, it's in your office. So I walk into my office thinking, where is the truth? Why I cannot find the truth? Because it was a very, very painful day to me. I had a dream. I wanted to be a lawyer, and that day I was ready to give up. It was painful. So as I come inside of my office, I notice the client. I have been working with him for more than a year, and I sit at my desk. And I remember him talking with him. He brought some new documents in his case, and I remember even before, I always look at him, and he had joy in a joyless land, hope in a hopeless land. And I always thought, this man is crazy. I need to fix him. But I never had the time. It was always one client after client. So as I sit on my chair, confronted with this smiling, full of confidence and joy man, I look at him and I say, I wish I had in my life what you had in your life. And he said to me, do you go to church? And I stare at him, thinking, I knew you're crazy. I don't know why I asked you this question. But he wrote down something and gave it to me and said, this is the address to our church. Would you come to our church? And I heard myself saying, yes. The craziest things. A month before, the dictator declared himself God. The church, Orthodox Church, declared himself God and required all of us to worship him. And here I am saying, yes, I was that desperate to find the truth. And crazier than that, next Sunday, I was there in front of his church with my girls. So he welcomed us and showed us the place inside of the church. And I remember, as I went inside of the church, I was so worried. I was thinking, the government can't take my kids away. The government can arrest me. The government can take my license away. The government can kill me. But all of a sudden, I heard the choir singing, "Sinner, come home." So I started to encourage myself and said, calm down. They have a celebration. A man behind me must be a man behind me, and his name must be Sinner, and he is coming home. That's what I knew about God. That's what I knew about sin, about anything. Because when government comes in a socialist and communist, takes all the Bible, puts you in jail if you say something about Christ to your kids or something. So I never heard about sinner. I never heard about Christ. So I go inside, and the client tell us where to sit. So we sit there, And the pastor came, opened the Bible, and read. Jesus Christ said, I am the truth, the way, and the life. Nobody comes to the Father except through me. Imagine in that situation, everybody is quiet, the church is quiet. Somebody said, what? It was me. Because someone said, I am the truth, Virginia. You look at the wrong places. So Christ came real to me. And that day I accepted Christ as my Lord and Savior. And I understood that was God who put in my heart the desire to find the truth, to go to law school, to think that I will find the truth there, and to find Him. And also, I understood that He wanted me to defend Christian and human rights cases, Christian persecuted by the government, because I didn't have to look for clients. They all come to me. I did not know at that time that I was the only lawyer defending Christians. Why? Because when God gives you a mission, He gives you everything that you need, even the power to stand up in front of the most powerful dictator. Again, it's not about me, it's about God who provides everything. And I will share even more, but if you read my book, Saving My Assassin, you will agree with me that it was God, because there are so many signs that He provided.
So what type of cases did you do prior to your commitment versus post? I mean, in a communist nation, what for Christians persecution, what type of cases would you be defending or helping them with?
For the Christians?
For the Christians.
I defended Christians that, like young Christians, that will take Bibles from one church to another to move or material for Bible study for kids from one church to another. You have to know that America, President Ronald Reagan gave Romania the most favored nation status that include economic benefits plus the right of Romanians to receive Bibles and Bible study material from Western civilization, including United States of America. But they arrested my clients moving Bibles from one place to another because the government, socialist and communist government, works on lies. The government in Romania never published the most favored nation status law and what the law. So for that reason, they said to my clients, those Bibles are published in America or in France or in Germany. You are spies. Nobody can have those. You are spies. You are bringing those. So you need to be in jail.
So most favored nation status that the Reagan administration gave to Romania included, if you want trade, economic freedom also comes with that, religious freedoms.
Yes.
So, and again, like live not by lies, like Solzhenitsyn said when he was kicked out of Russia back in the day, communist country, they did not promote, when I'm hearing you summarizing what you just said, they did not make it public what the specifications of that most favored nation status rules and regulations were for the Romanian people. They didn't realize we have freedoms, we can get Bibles, we can do this. So the government kept them in the dark, and that's where you came in to defend these people because they were accused as being spies.
They're even more than that. I describe in my book that, for example, as a young lawyer, when a Christian will come to defend, not those Christians that move Bibles from one place, doctors that will give a prescription, and with the prescription will put a Bible verse, they will be put in jail or say, we'll take your license and so forth. As a young lawyer, I pray and I said, Lord, help me to find the law. Because again, in law school, we were never told about this. So I went to the library and I pray. And as I go to the library, the Lord sent me to a specific place in the library. And on the table, I found a book that included the law that protects religious freedom in Romania, a law that was established under capitalism. The dictator never abolished that in order to say to the Western civilization, we have the law, nobody is using. I heard the Lord saying, make copies, and I did right away. When I went to defend Christians for the first time, those young people, I said to the judge that we have laws in this country that protect freedom of religion, and the judge has to release my clients today. He looked at me like, you're crazy. And I went to my briefcase and I took the copies and I gave it to the prosecutor and I gave it to the judge, who turned red and said, we need to look over and we will make the decision. One more thing to show you what a powerful God we have. At that day, as I was presented all those cases, I go back home and I listened to Voice of America. Voice of America was a radio that presented the truth and was able to penetrate over the walls of the socialists. So we heard the news about the world. So I was ready and excited to see what's going on. And as I listened to Voice of America for the news, I realized I became the news. Voice of America was explaining what I did, how I presented the documents and everything. And I'm thinking, Lord Almighty, how is that possible? One, I was happy because the whole world knew about me and it was God's way to protect me. But on the other hand, I was thinking, the communists can come immediately in my house and arrest me, thinking that I was a spy. Later on, I found out that behind me, unknown to me, they were representatives from people all over the world, United States, German, Jewish, England, all over. And they listened to me, they took notes, and they presented to their government. How many times God is sending you to something and you think that you are by yourself? Take it from me. There are so many stories in this book that will show you that when you obey the Lord, God will provide everything for you to do the job that He has for you.
Amen to that too. So the government's taking notice of you. You've
Yes.
disrupted the apple cart in a big way, basically.
Yes.
And they realize they're going to have to do something with you, but there's, the political pressure from the United States as well as other Western nations, preventing them from doing certain things. But you end up as a political prisoner in your own home. Talk about the day, though, when you went to your office towards the end of the day when the government did send somebody that got your attention in a very big way.
In the beginning, the government didn't pay too much attention to me because I was 82 pounds, I was under 5 feet tall, I was a woman, which in communist or socialist means nothing. So they thought, oh, she's going to disappear. Not when you are in God's hands. So they did all kind of crazy things. They arrested, tortured me, pushed me in the intersection to create kind of accident to kill me. But finally they decided to kill me. Unknown to me, President Ronald Reagan was talking more and more about taking the most favored nation status from our dictator. So he decided to eliminate me. He sent a client to my office. He was dressed in normal clothes. He was 6'10" feet tall, and he came really late. I had microphones everywhere in my home and in my office, so they knew my whereabouts. So as he came, my assistant left for the day. She introduced him to the office. When he heard that she locked the door to the office, he pulled his jacket, took his gun, and pointed to my face. And he said, I'm not your client. We have done everything in our power to stop you. You don't stop. I'm here to kill you. And he was smiling like he was doing something so special. But he explained it to me, that by killing me, he will become number one in dictator's rank. And my knee was shaken, my hands were shaken, I believe my face was red. I heard my heart in my ears. I heard even the voice of friends and enemies saying, one day we're gonna find you dead. Stop fighting against the powerful dictator. And I believe that I will die. But I also heard the whisper of God, share the gospel. And I thought, that's the last chance that I have. So I look at him and I said, I know you have a job, but I would love to share something with you. And to my surprise, he nodded. And I started to tell him that many years ago, I was in his position looking for something. He looks for a position. I was looking for something else, for truth, and so forth. And I started to tell him that I met a man who changed my life. And I asked him, would you like me to share it? And he nodded, he put the gun on the table. And as I was talking about Christ, his shoulders relaxed. And to make the story short, he accepted Christ right away. He explained it to me that he will come to church to be a spy, but he will never talk with me. He left my office in Romania, and I don't remember how long I remained in that chair. I was pinching myself and saying, I'm alive, I'm not dead, I'm alive, I'm not dead. Shortly after that, a few months or something, President Ronald Reagan called dictator and make a deal with him and said, I will give you the most favored national status for another year with one condition. You let Virginia and her family to leave Romania today. The dictator said, in a month. I agree, but in a month. You will find out that he created another plan to kill me. But I knew President Ronald Reagan as a president of the United States. But when you are a child of God, God will put the most powerful person in the world, as he did in my case, to perform your mission and to bring it to fulfillment, because he is a powerful God. Proverbs 21:30 says, there is no wisdom, no insight, no plan that can succeed against the Lord. And I am a living proof of that. If you put your life in God's hands, you will be a proof of our powerful God. And he wants to be honored and glorified, and America needs each one of us today.
Well, thank you. That's a perfect time for us to take a quick break. We'll be right back after this. For over 50 years, JT Clothiers has been a respected family-owned clothing store for men and ladies in Denton, Texas. Whether you're looking for the perfect suit, an elegant top, or unique accessories, JT's offers a personalized shopping experience. The staff not only remembers your name, but also takes the time to understand your style, ensuring you always walk out with something you love. JT Clothiers carries world-class brands from around the globe, bringing you the best in fashion from far and wide. Whether you're shopping for work, play, or something in between, they got you covered. Conveniently located on the corner of Oak and Elm in historic downtown Denton, JT Clothiers is a must-visit destination. Stop by, support local, and let them know you came from Forces of Character podcast to receive 10% off your first purchase. Head over to JT Clothiers today, where timeless style meets personalized service. We're back. Thank you again, Virginia. What a phenomenal testament to courage, to, again, I say it over and over, grit, determination, just the power within us. It doesn't matter the physical stature, but the power that is within us when you are in pursuit of that truth, of the things that we can accomplish and the things that, in your case too, and in all of our cases, the power of God and the power of faith in a person's life. Most favored nation status. President Reagan's cutting a deal with Ceausescu regarding to get you to come to the United States. Just to talk a little bit about that process in regards to how did you pick Dallas? How did you even find about that you had a passport, et cetera? Because communist countries don't have passports.
Wherever I go and wherever I think that where I have a question, I ask the Lord. So I remember receiving a phone from the Romanian government and said, you have a passport and you are free to go to United States of America. You need to go tomorrow. You need to come to have this passport and then go to American embassy. It was very suspicious to me. I said, I never asked for a passport. In socialists and communists, if you ask for a passport, then you say, I don't like socialists and communists, so you'll be dead. They said, yes, ma'am, we have it, and they explained to me that President Reagan is involved. So I went there, and before I went there, I prayed, and I said, Lord, where do you want us to be? So I pray and I pray. I went to the Romanian government, took the passport, and I went to the American embassy. We fill out some forms and everything, and I got to the point where they said I have to put the place. And I said, ma'am, I can't put the place. I still need to pray. They said, you know what, you have some clients that you defended and they are in America. I was thinking, no, I won't show up at the door of my clients. And she said, okay, that will be fine. So return after a week. So I went home, I fasted, I prayed. And I remember my kids were playing and doing all kind of things, and all of a sudden as I pray, I stop. I tell them, stop. The Lord told me that the place where to play is where Kennedy was killed. And somebody said, Dallas, yes, Dallas. And when I went the next week to the embassy, and the lady was opening the envelope from the government, and she was trying to look at the documents there, and teasing me. She said, ma'am, what God told you to go to? And she was still looking at the documents. And I said, Dallas, Texas. And she dropped the documents and she said, ma'am, did you see those documents before me? Because the government, one of the suggestions from the government was Dallas, Texas. And she thought that I had seen. So I'm convinced that this is the place where God asked me to be. And I will never move from Dallas unless the good Lord tells me to move.
So let's, for our listeners and our viewers, to put this into perspective and context, your mother, don't speak English.
Yes.
Going to another country.
No money.
No money, nothing,
no friends.
No pathway, quote unquote, to success or what it means. You're just showing up.
Yes.
Where do you go? I mean, when you hit ground here in Texas, where'd you go and what did you do? I took my kids to school and did they speak English? How old are your children?
No, they were 9 and 10. None of them were speaking. My son was born, we came in November, and my son was born in July at Baylor, and we got friends. But when you speak 5 languages, you understand from the context, but sometimes can be tricky because you can understand something different. So I started to go to churches. They would take me to churches to learn English, and I was not happy because it was too slow. I watch TV in order to learn English. I put labels everywhere of my home with the name and pronunciation. I would scream at TV at one time and say, speak Romanian, because I wasn't able to understand, but the girls started to learn English really well, and they hated the time that we will go somewhere and I will say, what did she say? What did she say? So at one point my girl said, Mom, it's time for you to learn faster English. So I learned English, and I did whatever it took. It's not easy because English doesn't have rules, it has exceptions. Lots of exceptions. But I learned English, and I went to law school. I passed the test to go to law school.
Well, back up on that regarding motivation. I know you were an attorney in Romania, but you still was in pursuit of that aspect of truth and wanted to not necessarily sit back and allow the government to take care of you, that you were independent and wanted to succeed on your own.
I was never, I work in daycare of my church. And and I asked them if it's possible to allow me to be with my son. And I was watching kids speaking English and learning from them. I mean, you can learn from everyone. And I do remember my friends at my Sunday school class will say, Virginia, you are a lawyer and you work in daycare? And I said, yes, because I don't know English. And I also learned a very valuable lesson. I am not my profession. I'm a child of God. I'm not what I was in Romania. I'm not what I'm here. I am who God created me to be. So I was just fine, but I was very determined to learn English, and I did. I worked for a period of time as a legal assistant, but I did not stop there. I wanted to go to law school, so I took the entrance test. I did very well, and I impressed these people at SMU, and I went to SMU. I went to SMU, and in 3 years, having 3 kids, I graduated with 2 diplomas in 3 years. Normal people graduate in 4 years. I don't advise anyone. I took 20 credit hours.
A semester, wow.
Yes.
That's a little bit of inundation there, drinking by the fire hose, and I can imagine. Again, this phenomenal story, but I think for me, the biggest point of what you just shared was that concept of identity. What you do does not define who you are.
Yes, exactly.
You know, and that's where so many people get struggle with that when they have to make a transition or they retire from one profession to another. They really struggle with, who am I? Mm-hmm. I mean, your faith, I ultimately believe identity comes from that aspect, is what is your view of God, whether you believe in him or not, etc. But that was your pursuit. You had that strong foundational aspect of identity.
Yes.
So you had that purpose, you had the mission, you were seeking you had the fulfillment already.
Yes. Yeah.
But no matter what you did,
yes. And
you were fulfilled.
I forgot to ask this. I was a legal assistant in a law office, and I was in the library just by myself, and I was praying and praying and praying, saying, Lord, going to law school, is this my desire or it's yours? I need to know from you, Lord, clearly. I had 3 kids that later on will go to college. I didn't want to make more expenses on my back. I heard the Lord coming real when I accepted him in that library. I had seen God's presence saying, as I open the Red Sea for Moses, I will open the Red Sea for you to go to SMU. And it's true. It's true. I cannot tell you how many times in law school I was thinking, Lord Almighty, I am competing with young kids. English is their first language, and the grades that I receive are so amazing. I was the president of the international group and so forth. I mean, everything it's about when you ask the Lord. Because the Bible said that he will put his hands on our back and says, this is a way, walk in it. And anytime I ask, he provided for me. And he will provide it for you too.
Very good. You know, and that's when an individual has that higher calling, it's something beyond oneself. That's where phenomenal things can happen.
And it's also, like you said, it's not for your benefit. It's for yours and benefit of others. My kids grow up. My first daughter graduated from SMU, my second from Harvard Law School, and my son from Air Force Academy. When I worked those 20 hours, and I did so much, at SMU, I never imagined that one day one of my kids will call me and say, oh, I have a hard project to do, would you pray for me? And I said, yes, I will pray for you. And I will say, oh, but you are powerful, you are strong, you can do it, you are able. He said, Mom, when I close my eyes and I remember you sitting in front of the computer and us going to sleep and then coming down in the morning and you are still on the computer to finish your homework, I am thinking, if Mom was able to do it, I can do it. God uses your sacrifice, uses your obedience for others. And if my kids are following the Lord, it is because they had seen me doing.
You know, it's actions speak louder than words too, and the fruit of your labors, bore fruit with the legacy of your kids.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing that's, from just a parenting lesson 101, that your kids, it's not so much what you say, it's how you model it.
Yes.
Do you model it? And
yes.
Again, a great testimony to you because your kids are all off and thriving, doing phenomenal things. You graduate from law school. Your kids, your daughters are all graduating, then they're going into college. And what was your purpose when your kids were out of the home? When Emmanuel, your last one, your baby, left the home, where did you see that purpose and that fulfillment? Now, you went from a human rights attorney in Romania, now in the U.S., where'd God take you?
He had a plan for me, not only to go to law school, to have my law firm, but also to work with Alliance Defender Freedom and do the same thing that I had done in Romania. To speak, I have to say that American people are such an amazing kind of people. Before I learned English, my friends who heard my story, because it was publicized in different magazines and so forth, they said, Virginia, people need to know your story. So they said, we're going to write grammatically correct your story, and you can read it, or you can memorize it, or you can look it. So they helped me to speak even before I was able to speak. Many people will come to me and say, you need to write a book and everything. I wanted to write a book when my kids were home, but God said no. And I'm glad that He said no, because He wanted me to spend time with them. And one specific time after my last kid went to college, God asked me to write the book. And it's amazing how many people in uniform or without uniform for military, Air Force Academy or other places will come to me and said, ma'am, you need to write a book, and I will do whatever it takes to bring you to Air Force Academy. And I spoke to Air Force Academy. I don't know exactly who, did that for me, but I know God used people. So there is always a specific time that God has in mind, and that's His purpose. I was asked, and it was not my idea, I was asked to be the representative for my district, and I told them I will pray, and if the Lord said yes, and the Lord said yes so fast that I said, Lord, Have I hurt myself or you? Please answer clear. And he did amazing things to me, and I was able to help them. Governor Abbott appointed me to the Holocaust Commission, and I enjoyed very much, and I helped him with lots of things, and other representatives with lots of things about socialism and how to recognize those things. I have a podcast, and I did not have that was not my idea, it was God's idea. But I hear and I ask the Lord, and he guides me and he takes me. He said that he will share his knowledge with us, and we will know in advance. So he is an amazing God, and he will answer our prayers. And we are here, I believe, each one of us with talents and skills, because God wants to use them for his glory and for America. I have to say that I grew up far away, overseas in Romania, and many Americans came during communism, to encourage us, and I became an American citizen for 30-something years here, and I have to tell you, I had seen America change so much from the time that I came there with the idea, yes, we can do it, we are Americans. We are independent when we can do it, to being fearful, and fearful more of the government than of God. But I have to tell you, we as Americans brought Christ freedom and prosperity to people all over the world. Today is our job, you and me, all of us, to bring Christ freedom and prosperity back to America. And when you say, Lord, here I am, use me, watch out and see what God is going to do. The little girl that I was talking to you was, as I watched my parents, that little girl in me is asking you today to share faith, not fear, around your kids or grandkids. They will watch you. And one day, if they will have to live under socialist or hard circumstances, they will look at you and ask, where have you been? What have you done during that time? And you will have to respond to them. But there is a better chance today for you to say, Lord, forgive me. We all fell short of God's glory. None of us is perfect. You can ask God for forgiveness and invite him in your life and give your life to him, and you will be amazed. You will be transformed, and your life, your business, your community. We were created to be leaders. Head, not tail. That's the way God created us. Do not settle for less.
That's amazing. It reminds me, if not me, then who? Mm-hmm. If not me, then who? And
yes.
We many times, having gone through this COVID pandemic that we did, and sometimes the overreach of what our government did back then, people were talking in secret amongst themselves, similar to the experience that you had as a small girl, where your parents inside the home were speaking out against the government, etc. But no matter what your political affiliation may be, we're all based on our experiences, our political affiliation based on the experiences that we've had growing up. And you are so unique in your message. What you just shared with everybody is so powerful in the fact that if you don't use it, you lose it.
Yes.
Like muscle strength.
Exactly.
If you don't exercise in your faith, if you don't exercise it, you're going to lose it. And that's the same thing with freedoms. Exactly. Our freedoms are not free; they cost something. So,
exactly.
To you, and as you've encouraged all of us to get engaged.
Yes, and I learned a very precious lesson that I hope everybody will take into account. When I shared the gospel with my assassin in my law office in Romania, what God taught me was that my assassin was not my enemy. The evil one is our enemy. And because we I am a child of God, the evil one will attack us. And my assassin was not my enemy. He was captured, a slave in evil tent. And God wanted to use me so Christ can bring him to the cross. People that mock you are not your enemies. They can become your friends. Let me tell you, 20 years later, my assassin came to my law office in Dallas, Texas. He was sitting down when I arrived at my office in Dallas, Texas. My assistant offered him to wait for me in my office. So I went into my office, I listened to him, he had a very good case. I was thinking I can take his case. When he finished, very frustrated, he looked at me and said, "Virginia, don't you recognize me?" And I thought, no. And he showed me his Securitate ID. My hands were shaken. I relived for a few seconds that moment in Romania. He recognized my face being red, and he said, "Virginia, I'm not killing anyone today. I am a pastor." And he told me what he is doing in Romania. My former enemy, today he is my brother and he is my pastor. We shared together what God has done in our life. And I told him that I was writing my book. And he asked me to let him write a chapter in my book. I hope you will be transformed by what he explained, more than I can explain to anyone. How the socialists capture his heart, make a monster out of him, killing, but how Christ redeemed his soul. I hope you will recognize that you have a power, the Christ that is in you, it's bigger than the one that is in the world. And you will recognize that God can transform even what you call your enemies into your friends. We have an amazing God. And you have a life, a short life here, but you leave a legacy that will never die. I hope that you will say today, "Lord, this is my life. Do whatever you want with me. Change me and change America and change the world." I hope to hear from you.
Amen. Well, let me just show everybody, this is your book. Get this plan out of the way here. You can see that? Yep, Saving My Assassin. And it's been out for several years now, but it is a powerful memoir. I encourage everybody to read this.
Yes, you can find it at virginiaprodanbooks.com.
God has also put it on your heart to write another book.
Yes.
In the short time that we have left, just share a little bit about what that's about.
I want to write a book about how Americans can stand up and how they can be strong and courageous. There are so many examples that I can give it to them because I train, and I have a podcast, and I train people on how to be strong and courageous in Christ. So God bless you, and I know that the God of the universe will love to use you, but if you don't, God can use someone else. So don't settle for less.
Virginia, thank you so much. What a powerful story. What a powerful life, a powerful journey. And I know God has a lot of things in store for you in the years to come, and the impact that you've had on so many people. It's been very inspirational for all of us. You exude hope, you exude determination, and above all, courage. And I thank you for being here. I thank you for what you're doing, and keep on keeping on. And for you folks that are listen to this, if you like this content, follow us on social media or go to my website, chadhennings.com, to learn more about what we're trying to accomplish on Forces of Character podcast. Like our guest today, I just want to encourage each and every one of you to go on with your day, live each day to its fullest, but be a force of character today. Thank you, take care, and watch us next time.